Hey, welcome back, everyone. This is Charlie Pankey Sierra Now Podcast. Thank you for joining us today. Wherever you're at, we hope the Sierra is in your future, in your sights, and you're just driving safe and having a blessed day. We have a great show ahead for you because we are talking all things spring, all of our favorite things, and of all things, getting on the water. Our guests today are a couple of people from Tributary Whitewater Rafting out of Lotus, California, and they specialize in the American River of all things here in the Sierra, and then raft trips throughout the West. And I'm really excited about having them on today, talking about river rafting and getting some things I don't even know out there, so we can answer the questions. So please welcome Jeremiah Cooper from Tributary Whitewater. How you guys doing today?
Good. Jeremiah Cooper and
Eva Clarici.
I apologize, Eva. I had Kimberly down. I really do apologize.
No
for whatever reason. That is a big miss on my part. So
it's all good. We've been called worse.
Okay. Oh, very good. I try not to do that. How you guys are getting ready? It's March. We're getting ready for whitewater season. You guys pretty excited?
Yeah, for sure. It's looking like a good year. Not the best year ever, but plenty of water in all the reservoirs and enough snow up there to make our rivers run. So yeah, we're looking like a good year.
Should be a good year. What rivers will you guys start with usually? What river kind of hits first in most springs for you guys?
Yeah, so kind of two different categories of rivers. And we have free-flowing rivers. So those are rivers that don't have any dams on them. And in order for us to operate on those rivers, we need to have snow melting or rain falling or a combination in just the right amount in order to get a boatable flow on those rivers. And then, of course, that's our springtime menu. And then we shift to rivers that are dam controlled, where we have recreational releases from those dams that allow us to work all the way through September and October. So the spring menu, which is obviously probably the most relevant right now, is super exciting because those rivers are so fickle. They can be too high or they can be too low. If it's a drought year, sometimes we have a season where we don't get any trips on those rivers at all. So we always consider those to be like really special opportunities for guides, for clients, for people all the way across the board, right? So those are, we have the North Fork of the American out of Auburn. We have the North Yuba River in Downeyville. Those are both really incredible Class 4 day runs. So just so everybody knows, Class 1 is moving water. Class 2 is riffles, but some current and float trip. Class 3 is fun, splashy, like kind of what you'd expect from a trip or a rafting trip, big splashes and skadooshes coming over the boat. Class 4 is starting to be like, hey, that things can happen. We can have, it can get exciting out there. And then, Class 5 is pretty full on. So just so like North Fork and the North Yuba are both stout Class 4 spring runs. So those are both really great day trips out of those areas. And then probably one of the most special rivers is the East Fork of the Carson. Most of our watersheds, most of the rivers that we work on flow down the west side of the Sierras. Most of the snowpacks on the west side flowing west towards the ocean down into the Sacramento Valley. But the East Fork Carson is flowing out of Markleyville. It flows down the eastern side of the Sierras. And so on top of it only being a spring run and being occasionally runnable, you get to be in a totally different ecosystem and environment than you normally are than you're seeing every day on the west slope. So East Fork Carson
that flows right into our home. Yeah, that flows right into our home base. We're here in Mendon.
Cool. Oh yeah.
So the East Fork is our river watershed. Yeah.
Yeah. So we meet in Markleyville, or we meet at the Carson River Resort right there on the river. Put in there. We do 2 days with a one night, a wilderness style. So we bring all the gear with us, camp on the river. We camp right at the hot springs there. So the opportunity to camp at a hot spring on a multi-day rafting trip just kind of checks all the boxes. Every time we get done with one of those trips, we're like, man, that trip is really awesome. And again, it's one of those rivers that
Doesn't always.
yeah, we can't run it. We can't run it year round. And then again, you know this. There's some years we don't get out there at all. So looking like a good East Fort Carson season. And yeah, so that one, so the Yuba and the American and the Carson, those are probably our top list of spring runs.
And the Carson's like,
I go ahead. Apologize.
Oh no, it's okay. The Carson's like a nice, easy float. It's real mellow, real fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Real fun. Absolutely. You guys, I didn't get to prep you guys ahead of time. My son and daughter-in-law 2 summers ago actually got to take a trip with you guys. They did the American River run the first day, camped out, and then did the Yuba the next day.
Oh,
the
cool.
flows are really nice.
Yeah.
And they tell the story of especially the Yuba River, and that experience is like changed their life. They're like, we love whitewater rafting. That experience of some of those technical turns you have to make in front of the rapids, they just thought that was phenomenal. Love their guides. Their guides were top notch, and they had so much fun with you guys. So those are great.
Oh, that's great.
Awesome.
Yeah, the Yuba's pretty special, man. That's a neat place up there.
Yeah, and again, one of those places you don't always get to run. Sometimes it's too big, sometimes it's too dangerous, sometimes there's just not enough water. So that if you get a chance, like if it's going to be open this spring, that's a jump on opportunity. Right?
Absolutely. So, we can guide.
Oh, it's funny. Go ahead.
Yeah, we can guide 5 different sections on the Yuba, above Downeyville and below Downeyville, all the way into the lake there. So a lot of different opportunities.
Oh,
we have a campground right there in Downeyville where we'll camp out and do a section day 1, and then day 2 move upstream, do a little bit harder section if everybody's feeling up for it. And so a lot of good choices on the Yuba.
That's really great. That same summer, I actually, you were talking about rivers being too high. I got to ride the Kern River down south, and we almost didn't get to do it because the water was going too hard. And, luckily I was able to get down there and do a run, but it was so high that I like tell my kids, it was dangerous and scary and fun, but we would have went right over top of rocks that would usually be class 4s. It was just like a big ripple. It was insane how fast we got down the river, but it was a good time anyways. I love the whitewater that way. So how did Tributary come about? How you guys, long-term, guides who started your own business, how'd the business come about, and how long you guys been rafting the Sierra?
It's a good story. So Dan Buckley started Tributary in 1978. So it's been around for a while. One of the, that was the first generation of owners. How would we get involved? How did we get started doing it? We were both raft guides.
Dirtbag raft guides.
So just your standard dirtbag raft guides. Eva was a summer raft guide while she was going to college. I was just pretty fully committed to dirtbag raft guiding, and meet and you fall in love with the other raft guide, and as the story goes, she eventually graduates from college, and we convince ourselves that the right thing to do is to get real jobs and kind of
real people.
Yes, that was a fun chapter, but it's time to do a real thing. And so graduated college, she got a real job, I got a real job, and we bought a house, and so we're just like clicking along, hitting all the marks. And we live in Placerville. She was commuting to Folsom for work, and I was traveling. So I got a job that involved traveling. So I'd be gone for a couple, 2-3 weeks at a time, and life was going along well. And then what's the next obvious thing in this story? Kids. Right,
of course.
And so we found that out. We're first really excited, and then we kind of started talking to each other about, well, how do we want to raise this kid? What environment? What culture? And it's like, cool. So you'll drop the kid off at daycare on your way to Folsom, and I'll be gone for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And we realized that wasn't how we wanted to do it. That wasn't what we wanted to do. And so the obvious move was to go back to the river, back to that culture, back to that community that was home and where we wanted to be. And so we had both been guides in Lotus at different companies, and so we knew the area well. And I literally started going around to every company, the photo company, any river related company, and just being like, hey, I want a job. What do you have? Any job you have? I need a job, and I want to be in this sector. I want to be in this industry.
Yeah, yeah.
And didn't get a lot of, not a lot of hits or this or that. And so morning in May, Eva's water broke, and we're like, oh, I guess we're having a kid today. I get a phone call from a rafting outfitter that was like, hey, I've got an opening for a river manager here in Lotus. And I was like, all right, we gotta go do this. So left Eva and the dog at the park and went and had an interview with Nate Rangel from Adventure Connection. And I was a river manager. In one day, I was a new dad and a river manager in one day.
That's a great story.
Yeah. So that's the really quick and dirty, that's how it started. And so managed for a couple of years, and then was like, we got to figure out a way to take this awesome thing, this passion that we have, and kind of create a real thing. And Dan Buckley was ready to retire and move on from Tributary. And so right place, right time, and was able to buy a company. And I couldn't have done that without Dan and without, there all of the right things falling into place at the exact right time. And so kind of like that, all of a sudden go from dirtbag raft guy to outfitter in a pretty short window. That was probably, from 2016 to 14, and then we were owners in 18, and so
that's really fast. Yeah.
So then at that point it was just kind of hold on and try to figure it out. So
fantastic. Well, how many guys do you guys employ over the summer? Because you guys do trips in Oregon and Idaho. You guys organizationally have trips kind of all over the place, right? But how do you guys kind of outfit that for a number of employers, or you guys just travel different seasons to different places?
Yeah, well,
both things. We probably have about 20 to 30 full-time guides, and then we have outposts in various locations. So we'll have an outpost in Truckee, and we'll have 4 or 5 guides that stay there all summer long. And then you guys
do the Truckee route out of Tahoe. You do the Truckee River there.
So out, as you know, but for everybody that doesn't, the Truckee River is super cool. It flows from Tahoe to Pyramid. It's this. Yeah. That's it. And right out of Lake Tahoe is in Tahoe City. There's the float trip, or what they call the booze cruise, where they just rent you a boat and sort of shove you off,
send you on your merry.
A little bit further down. Where Boca Reservoir is.
Yeah.
So right below Boca, there's a 7-mile stretch of good whitewater from Boca to the Floreston exit on Highway 80.
Okay.
And so we outfit trips on that section of Class 3 whitewater on the Truckee. So not the float trip out of Tahoe City, but a little bit closer, heading east towards Reno.
That's good. And is that one more the dam controlled? Because that one will run low, obviously, in the summertime too. So is that even considered a dam, or is that a free flower?
So that's a dam controlled, but so last year, sometimes they don't release that water out of Tahoe, but we're actually getting our water from Boca Reservoir. So we're able to operate that even when that section Tahoe. Yeah. So we actually, it's funny, we put on the Boca Reservoir is actually on the Little Truckee River. And so we actually put on the Little Truckee River, and we raft for about 30 yards, and then we confluence with the main stem of the Truckee. So from there down, there's more water because there's water coming out of Boca.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, I know exactly where you guys are at there. That would be probably a fun little section. It's very scenic through that canyon in there. I would imagine that's a pretty.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's really neat. And then right at the end, it squeezes up into the Floreston Gorge, and so you get this, just the last mile of the trip is just full on. It's really cool. You get 6 miles of just fun, sort of splashy whitewater, and you're going, and then the last mile is all of that, and then you're done. So pretty exciting end to that trip.
Yeah, real intense at the end.
Awesome. Well, a lot of our readers or listeners are coming either, there's some in Carson Valley, but San Francisco, Los Angeles are coming to the Sierra to play for the weekend. And I know when I think about whitewater rafting, one of the first things I go okay, what's the ride? What is the class 4 or the class 3 that, the guide is super geeked about, excited to do? So maybe I let's play around a little bit. What are some of the great runs of the Sierra that you guys got to do, or maybe there's a rapids name, or everybody has these cool names for rapids. What do you guys like best?
So I mean, it's always it depends, right? Like every answer, it depends. Depends on the group. You got. Are we taking kids? Are we taking a bachelor party? All of those things. It's just hitting on some of the classics. The Middle Fork of the American out of Auburn, or out of Forest Hill it's on the list of California classics. It's dam controlled, so so we can go all summer long. It's a highly regulated permit system, so getting out there is limited. So it's not, there's limited starts. So getting out there is a privilege. You get to go through a man-made rapid, and then you get to go through an underground tunnel. That's just not something that happens. There's a 1.5 mile long oxbow, so that's a big river goes all the way around this big peninsula of rock, and they wanted to mine that section, that oxbow or that horseshoe. And so they drilled a hole through the mountain, and then at the last second diverted all the water. They dynamited a chute and diverted all the water through the tunnel so that they could dry mine that riverbed. And that's the way that the river has remained since that time. And so it's this really crazy, the chute's about a 1/4 mile long, and you drop 20 feet. It's about 2 boat widths wide. And so you go in there and just smash down through that. When it's over, you get to float through the underground tunnel. Fortunately, the water in the tunnel is calm water. So that, the Middle Fork is a really, really incredible piece of whitewater. It's an incredible piece of scenery. And then it's chock full of history, right? So mining history out there. Mm-hmm. One of our specialties for that trip, most companies, it's 21 or 17 miles, and you can do it all in one day. You can do it in one day. You put in the whole thing, take out, and go home. But it's a long day. It's a long day. And so we do that trip in that wilderness format, or that wilderness style, where we bring a gear boat, and that lets us. So there's a huge doodlebug dredge that washed out off its moorings when the coffer dam broke when they were building Hellhole in 1964, and that doodlebug dredge washed up on the shore. Well, it's still there. It's one of the coolest things ever to stop and climb. You can climb around on it and check it out. But on a day trip, you're lucky if you're there's the doodlebug dredge, keep going. But on a multi-day trip, we'll stop. We'll pull the rafts over and we'll go hang out, we'll go climb on it and walk around it. And so the format, right? The format, not just the river, but the format that you do it, the way you go down that river matters a lot. And so that wilderness style, we go halfway, spend all day, take our time. We do side hikes, cool side hikes on it. And then we stop and we set up camp. And then we do the second half the next day. So it's a really amazing excursion. So that's a cool river. Make sure you do it in 2 days, not 1 day, so you get to see all the things. We have a relationship with Crooked Lane Brewery in Auburn. So we meet our clients there, and we get to park our cars, and then they put our photos from the trip up on the screens at the end of the day. And so you get a cheap beer and a photo, you get to look at your photos. And so they'll not just saying, hey, the Middle Fork's really awesome, but how you do the Middle Fork and where you meet and how it's all formatted is a really important component. Not just saying, hey, we went and did that river, but how you did it is a pretty important component.
The experience of it all sounds pretty incredible. Yeah. The experience, if you're going to go and you're going to invest the money to go on a trip, and Whitewater Rafting is not super expensive, but it takes a little bit of investment time depending on what you're doing. You want to make sure you get those experiences that you're going to last a lifetime. Yeah. That sounds like a really good trip. So,
and then the South Fork is, especially the lower South Fork, is just real classic rafting. It's really accessible. It's great for families. You can take kids on there. It's really safe. It's really forgiving. And it is exactly what you think about when you think about rafting. Big splashes of water coming over the boat and drenching everyone. And it's real classic.
Fantastic. That's fantastic.
And easy and fun.
Yeah. I remember my son and daughter just talk about that Yuba trip too. And there's at least one spot where they talk about the boat has to turn in the rapid. It's and the way they tell it as a fan is just fun. You want to go do that sometimes.
Right.
life experiences, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
Well, very
exactly.
cool.
And
You
yeah.
guys don't do just the Sierra. You get out and do Idaho and Oregon and the West. Also, do you guys have like a favorite river to run outside of the Sierra? That's like if you're willing to take a big venture trip, where should people go? Like I've done Idaho and Oregon because I grew up in Oregon in the
Oh,
Deschutes, and
okay.
I grew in Idaho. I've done plenty of white rafting there too. But I just want to know your guys' opinion on that.
I mean, I just kind of always have to throw my hat at the Rogue. The Rogue
Yep.
River and is it's a bucket list river. It's a top shelf river. It's a river that you can say the Rogue, and everybody knows what you're talking about. It has a reputation and it lives up to it. Um,
Yep.
it's just that's a pretty incredible piece there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Four
I
days.
have I have a friend who doesn't understand the forest in the Rogue. He's almost
Uh,
like a rainforest climate in the forest
yeah.
on that thing. So
Mhm.
it's a whole different, ecosystem that you're rafting through when you're going the Rogue. I completely agree with that. So pretty neat.
Yeah, you finish, you're about 30 miles from the ocean. And so you're still in that rain shadow, that sort of inland rain shadow from the ocean that creates that difference. It's like the East Fork Carson, right? It's like, I love being in those different ecosystems or environments, like the Golden Hills and the Sierras. And then you go over to the east side or you go up to the Rogue and like, not just the different river, but being in a different environment is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely. Well, let's talk about the guest experience here a little bit. What are some things that guests that maybe they have never done whitewater rafting or thought, well, that'd always be fun, but I'm kind of scared maybe, or what are some things that guests need to know about first time river adventures and how you take care of them as guides, maybe as a company?
To me, it's about picking the right trip, right? And I think that for us was one of our main motivators as we built this company and tried to acquire all these different permits and all these different options. One, I like rafting on lots of different rivers, but two, that allows me, if you called and you said, "Hey, I want to go rafting," we're going to have a conversation about your health. Do you have kids with you? You like, oh, you're bringing your mom and your dad, or you're bringing your 6-year-old kid? Those should be different trips. Those should be different experiences. And if you're looking for a just like plug and play, like, oh, we want to sign up for a rafting trip and this is the only trip that we offer, so that's the trip you're going on, that's
Yeah,
where you can get into an experience that's not ideal. And so if I'm able to have that conversation with you and you tell me, hey, I'm apprehensive about this, or I have this, or I have that, or I want this. It's me and my college buddies, and we want to get after it. I'd be like, cool, let's go over here. So that diverse menu of offerings for us is what I think is like one of the most critical components to delivering the correct experience, because it allows me to put you after that conversation in that right spot, right there. How long of a
love that.
trip? How long do you want to be on the river? Half day, full day, 4 days, and not every trip is right for every person. And so being able to mold that in, and I think also just the river experience can be so dynamic, and the
Hmm.
guides I think are a little bit underrated component of it, right? People think like, cool, I'm going rafting, there's my boat, there's my things, there's the river, we're going to put on and float down. But every guide is not created equally, and so we
Yep.
put a ton of energy and time into staffing and then training of those guides. And we encourage people to talk to their guides, and our guides to be really sensitive to people. And if you see a small kid, on the trip, maybe we rig a stern frame in the boat, because we realize like, man, mom's going to be nervous. So if I put a stern frame in this boat, I can be like, hey, mom, you can just hold on to the kid. You guys don't have to paddle. Right. And so
Hmm.
the guide is a really, really important component to that, and
Hmm.
making sure that people recognize that guide is there not just to steer the boat, but to facilitate that experience, right? And so that's maybe a
Yep.
difference between skiing, something like that. You go out, you get your skis, you get your stuff, then you're kind of on your own, right? But
Yeah.
that guide is such a critical component to delivering that experience, and knowing what jokes to tell, and knowing what you're into and what you're not into. And I've had people that look at me and they're like, hey, I'm freezing cold, I'd really like not to get wet. Cool. The next rapid, I can steer the boat and I can get the left side of the boat wet and not the right side of the boat.
Yep.
And so encouraging people to choose a company that has a lot of choices, so you get on the right river, and then that guide interaction, right? That guide is the biggest component to that.
I love that. All my experiences is all been about the guides and how much fun we have with a guide. It becomes kind of this little raft family for 2 to 4 hours. I've been on the ride. I've never been on an overnight one. That sounds pretty cool. I can't even imagine a 4-day. How hard that would be. My body would hurt for 4 days. That must be a heck of a trip. I always feel after 4 hours. I'm done. That's a lot of mental. But I can't help but think if you're going out rafting in the American River or in the Sierra, seasonality probably has a little bit to do of how the trip is also. Do you guys have let's start on like a beginning family. Somebody hasn't been out a lot. Is early season better because it's more exciting, or do you recommend them waiting till midsummer because the temperatures are right and the water's better? Do you have any recommendations that way?
June.
Okay.
June is the best time. Is the best time for rafting. Yeah, because it's warm. It's warm, but it's not sweltering.
Yep.
The water is usually at a good level, so you're not going to be like scared if it's too high and it's not the end of the summer where it might be super smoky. Like June is the best.
June's the best. That's good. And then, of course, if you're a big adventure person, if you're a big adventure person, that early season water is pretty phenomenal, right? So,
yeah. But yeah, June.
I love the fact that you talked about safety too. Safety is such a big piece of it, right? Be on the water. I'll never forget going down a river out of McCall, Idaho, and I was too cocky and had my leg out of the boat and was rodeo style and fell off and went under the boat. Luckily, the guide had taught us what happens if you did that. And I'm in a rapid with a boat going over top me. And the first thing I remember is catching his oar and him go, "I got you. Don't worry about it." And he pulled me up. He got me. It's like, I'm glad I had one, the safety stuff, but two, I could trust my guide. As I'm being stupid on the river. But hey, guys, you wouldn't believe it. We're already coming up on our half hour. We kind of keep our show at a half hour for not only our guests that are listening, but for your time as well. I got a real quick message from my sponsor here. I want to run real quick, and then I got to come back for just a couple more questions. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Very good. We pull them up here. Our sponsors, if you guys have been watching us for a while, is Carson Valley. We thank the Carson Valley for all they do. They're our home base, and love their wild space. I'm sitting here thinking they need to add some whitewater rafting to that because it's not on there. The hot springs would be a great add to that, right?
I can get you a clip.
There you go. We'll send that to the bosses. But we love the Carson Valley. The East Fork does run right into our valley. So if you wanted to book a trip with Tributary, you can go down the East Fork this spring. The hot springs, we don't want to. It's one of those places we don't tell a lot of people about because one of those local spots But it is a great river trip. I'm sure I've never actually floated the whole river, but I'm sure it's great down there. And we'd love to have you in the Carson Valley. It's a great place to come. So other than that, the American River, I drive by it. We've been on the Yuba, shoots like that. Those rivers are wild and scenic for a reason, right? They're pretty phenomenal. So. All right, guys. So we have 3 questions we ask all of our guests. I'm going to ask you. You guys got to both answer these, okay? And they're pretty simple, but it's all about your outdoor adventure life and you personally a little bit, okay? So let's assume that you're behind you. Your bag is packed, and as soon as you hang it for me, you get a weekend off to go play anywhere in the Sierra you want to go play. Where are you going and why?
I'd probably go to Yosemite. It's so beautiful.
Just got back from there.
Yeah, it's so gorgeous. I love Yosemite.
Yep. I'm headed to the Yuba. Something on the Yuba, Downeyville, the Yuba, just the Yuba.
You're riding bikes or fishing, or what are you doing down at Downeyville?
Yes.
Yes. I like that. Guys, say it's Sierra Pines
hopefully boating, but those things too.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Okay, so after I get done hiking or backpacking or going on a long day's travel adventure, I'm a foodie a little bit. I love a big cheeseburger and French fries, maybe a milkshake on the side. What is your after a rafting trip and your campouts in your rafting? That'd be a good one. what is your go-to meal? What's the meal you have to have after a good day's rafting? What's on the menu there? Uh, Hold on, guys. It says you're not being recorded. I think your internet has stopped. Low browser storage. All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and finish it. We'll maybe okay catch up. We'll catch my side. I'll repeat what you're saying. So you're going to the Crooked. What did you say that again? Crooked Lane Brewery. Okay. Taco Bell. Hey, nothing wrong with a little Taco Bell. You know, that's okay. A little bean burrito on the way. I don't have a problem with that. So, and then finally for river rafting, what's the go to piece of gear that you have to have? You don't go home with it, leave without that. Good dry bag. Dry bags are good, right? Okay. Eva, you got the same? Absolutely. A cot. Okay. InReach, the little InReach. Hey, InReach. People don't say that enough. The InReach is an important piece when you're out there, right? Keep yourself safe. I like that. I like that a lot. So, well, you too. I want to just thank you so much. We are up on our time here. I want to thank you for being able to join us today. I hope a lot of people come out this you're using Whitewater. You got a great company and story to it. So, if you're listening to us in San Francisco, Los Angeles, all over California, Nevada, if you're around the world, we'd love to have you here in the Sierra. I hope the Sierra is in your future. Should be a great spring. I know snow has not met what we hoped it would, but it doesn't mean anything. We still have wildflowers coming up. We'll have whitewater rafting in spring. We got all the trails in the world in the summertime. So come out and enjoy the Sierra. We hope you're having a blessed day wherever you're at.